And suicide events can be brought on by not just a single event, but a whole group of many things happening at a particular point in time, which might overwhelm. And once overwhelmed, then one starts to think of alternatives, and suicide is an alternative, and that becomes a very real possibility.
Lives are complex, and for the most part, all of us can kind of keep our lives juggled. But if you've ever watched a juggler, if they're juggling 5 balls, if they drop one, they're gonna drop another, because the rhythm is off and life just starts spinning.
Generally, there's a lot of people out there that are particularly just lonely, need someone to talk to.
Five years ago, I lost my daughter, Arina, who was just 24, and she just graduated from college. And she was just very exceptionally beautiful person. She has always this kind and very compassionate attitude towards life and people. She didn't look so sad. She wasn't withdrawn. She was functioning. And this is what kind of fooled us, because we didn't realize how serious it was, because she didn't tell anybody how bad she was feeling, and she even didn't tell any of her friends, anything about suicidal thoughts or how sad she was feeling and how desperate.
Quite a lot of callers are unable to speak to their loved ones about very, very difficult situations or feelings in their own lives.
The callers are in a great deal of pain, and they have nobody else to talk to, and they're often extraordinarily lonely, and we're a last desperate attempt to have somebody to talk to.
The Samaritans organization is really unique in that it uses a technique that's called befriending or active listening.
It's just the concerned attention of somebody who cares.
Befriending as a practice is really unconditional listening, active listening. Someone who is able to listen without trying to fix, and giving the person as much space and time and direction to wander and to go as they need.
And then Friday night, when her father went to bed, and she was watching TV with him before and was laughing, and seems like she was in a good mood, and he hugged her and he went to bed.
We're there as befrienders is to hear those things, to hear the difficult feelings, and that's not always the easiest thing in the world. In fact, most times it's difficult, but that's really what we're there for.
It's a way for them to work through their emotions in their own time, to validate what they're feeling, to give them maybe this one moment of control in their lives for that period of time.
Saturday morning, she was sleeping late, and he went to buy her flowers and gifts for Valentine's Day. And when he came to her room, it was too late, I guess. Arina took 50 pills, what she bought in CVS. It was just over-the-counter sleeping pills, and it was just devastating. It was a devastating loss for our family.
In one call, it was a woman who was very distraught. At the end of the call, she said to me, "There is kindness in your voice, and kindness is so important."
Their loneliness, it doesn't get lifted. It's not like talking to me for 15 minutes is going to make them not lonely anymore. But for 15 minutes, they weren't lonely.
For somebody to have somebody that they can open their heart to over the telephone, I think is a wonderful thing.
When you're on the phone with them, they feel like they have a friend, and then they feel like they can call back. And that's what friends are supposed to be.
You know, if someone's lost someone to suicide, they're ashamed. They can't talk about their loved one. Their loved one becomes defined by the suicide, not by their life. So that's another program that we have. It's called Safe Place, and it's for adults who have lost loved ones to suicide. And what I love about that program is it's facilitated by other survivors, so there's not an expert in the room. There's not someone who's there to try to fix them. There's just somebody there to listen who's gone through it as well.
I had seen the signs on the bridge going over to the Cape for a long time, always thought, gee, I should do something like that. And then in January of 1987, my brother suicided, so I then had an impetus to actually call the organization to see what I could do. And I've been here ever since.
And I have been involved with the Samaritans since March of 2001, when I lost my son to suicide.
After death by loved one, by suicide, you can choose life or you can choose death. I guess at the beginning you don't feel like you have any choices because you think you're going to die. You can't survive such a devastating loss, but you do have a choice.
Sometimes coming 2 weeks after a suicide is too much. It's too close, it's too painful. For other people, it's the lifeline that helps them continue.
When we're all there, it seems like it's very powerful and very sacred space where people sharing not only their pain, but seems like all their insights. You have to be your own healer, and we all healers here to help you.
My brother Tommy, can I show you a picture? Sure. I don't want to forget about him. He was a great guy that cared about people, that unfortunately was in more pain than we knew about.
We get to hear the details of these really sad stories and really, sometimes really bad odds against the person, just really struggling. And yet we also hear in there somewhere that, but they go to work every day, or they have a daughter, or they're somebody's best friend, and you just wonder, how can they do that and yet be going through all this?
It amazed me then, and it continues to amaze me to this day, about the very power of befriending and what it can do to people, and how people are very good at finding their own solutions.
This is a place of hope. This is a place of joy at times. This is a place where people are really trying to make the world a better place.
You're doing it because it's the right thing to do, because we need to have everybody as connected as they possibly can. That's just how a society should be.
Sometimes when they come to the Samaritans, think that, well, it must be so depressing and it must be really tough to be a volunteer on the hotline. And I think quite the opposite, that it really is a place of hope.
When something seems impossible or beyond hope, to me, very concrete, tangible evidence that nothing is beyond hope.
To bury a child has to be a parent's worst nightmare. And I made a promise to myself, I made a promise to Edward, that I will do everything in my power to reach out to those people, and if I can help one person or one family from having to go through the tragedy, to explain to them the Samaritans are there. They're there to help you, they're there to guide you, and without them, I don't know where I would be today.
I dedicate everything what I do as a survivor of suicide and facilitator in memory of my daughter, Irina.